being a software leader is tough. You've got to know all sorts of different areas of your business and got to master them if you want to compete in today's world. For sales, you come to me. I show you how to close a lot of deals. For marketing, I had Jordan Behan from Narrate Creative come on the show, and he walks you through exactly how to set up your marketing so you can get a ton of business, ton of leads coming in, and make sure those leads are quality and feeling good when they come in. So check this episode out. I think you're really going to like it to help yourself generate good quality leads.
Welcome to SaaS-Story in the Making, the podcast that features the people who made the software world what it is today and the leaders who are shaping the future of technology. Here's your host, Matt Wallach.
Welcome to SaaS-Story in the Making. I am Matt Wallach. I am your host. Really delighted to have you here. And I'm equally delighted to have my guest, Jordan Behan, with me. Jordan, how you doing?
Very well, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Jordan, let me tell you a little bit, or let me tell everybody about you and what you've been doing. Jordan is the CEO of Narrate Creative. It's a content strategy and growth marketing company that helps SaaS companies. And in fact, he developed a training program called the Lean Marketing Playbook for SaaS, where he shares a systematic 9-step approach to building out your marketing and sales foundations to help you gain traction. I love it. Looking forward to hearing more about that. He's also the former lead storyteller, which is the content marketing lead at Hootsuite, which is very slick social media product. So, Jordan, once again, thanks for coming on the show.
I'm happy to be here, Matt. Looking forward to chatting today.
Likewise. Tell me, what have you been up to lately at Narrate Creative, and what's coming up for you guys?
Well, the focus right now has been in developing and selling the Lean Marketing Playbook for software as a service, as you mentioned. That's a new product that I spun up in the fall and winter of last year and really kind of dug in at the start of this year, and I've been helping clients with that. And so I still do some amount of strategy and content marketing with some of my legacy clients, but for the most part, shifting to a coaching model that does involve strategy and support for those clients as well. And I'm happy to discuss that in more detail as we go, but I don't want to talk too much about the product right away. And
well, I want to know. Absolutely. I want to know, what does that mean, lean marketing? When you say that, I mean, some people have one idea of it and others might have another. Can you explain what that means, lean marketing?
Yeah, well, I'm admittedly capitalizing on a bit of a buzzword there, but kind of going back to the origins of lean manufacturing and, of course, the lean startup. The notion of doing only what is necessary and eliminating waste at every opportunity with software as a service companies in particular. But most of my clients, Matt, they don't want to have to spend on marketing. They wish it would happen automatically. They are primarily focused on product development and improving the product. And marketing is not always necessarily an afterthought, but it's often not the core competency of a technical founder. And there's so many ways you can spend your money on marketing and advertising. And so I wanted to create a system where you strip away all of the fluff and focus just strictly on the fundamentals of what do you actually need to do to grow. You need to tell a certain story. You need to have a way of converting leads at the top of the funnel and nurturing them along the customer journey. And so that's really where the focus is if you have finite resources and limited budgets, this is exactly where I think it's important that you spend your time and money to really nail the foundations and evolve over time. You know, it's that lean notion of creating a minimum viable campaign of sorts and either iterating it or evolving it over time. But it's like, go to market as quickly as you can with purpose and intent, and improve as either as your revenues or your resources improve.
I love it. I totally agree. I have a lot of clients in the same boat who are very technical, very product oriented, kind of want marketing and sales just to happen. And sometimes it's a wake-up call to realize it doesn't always just happen. And some of those stories you hear about that this company blew up with very little marketing, it's very, 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 very rare. Generating leads and closing those deals are very difficult. I love this playbook. So, what gave you the idea to create it? Have you seen a lot of people needing this help?
Yeah, well, I had been doing, as I say, more traditional agency work for 7 years, focused strictly on software clients, and charging a higher and higher premium for my strategy work and content creation. And it was not out of the ordinary for somebody to come to me and ask for a piece of content, for example. Maybe it's an ebook, maybe it's a series of blog posts. And then, to do my job properly, I have to ask a series of questions to get to the root of what it is that they need. What are you looking for? What are the results you're hoping for? What's the objective of this content? The kinds of questions that they hadn't really considered. Often maybe you've there's loads of resources where you can learn what you should be doing, maybe like SEO, for example, or paid acquisition, and all of these places where you can dip your toes in without really a deep understanding of who it is that you're trying to target. What's the message you're trying to get across? What's the objective or the outcome that you're hoping that piece of content will achieve? And so, I was successful in charging a great deal of money to create content by making those almost strategic considerations part of the equation. Like I would just come out right out and say, look, I'm not going to be the most inexpensive content creator that you speak with, but it's because I've got some pretty good questions for you. And then I realized baking that into the system and making that sort of part of my foundational standard operating procedure, if you like, was not just beneficial for me, especially when I'm handing that work off to, team members, but also to them, that these considerations have to be in place. You have to have answers to those questions. Something as basic as what stage of the funnel is this piece of content for? And, you get a blank stare in return, like, funnel? And it's like, okay, well, all right, where do we start? And so that was the impetus, not just a desire to, of course, systemize and to scale my business, but also recognizing that every client, even the really good ones, even the ones that have done a certain amount of strategy work, they still benefit from being asked those questions and answering them to a person like a fractional strategist or a content creator. And so I recognized that having a system that I could walk everybody through, I do focus on the early stage folks, post-seed funding, pre-A, so that I think that's kind of the sweet spot where, like we've already talked about, probably don't have budget for full-time marketing leadership, maybe have junior marketers that need that sense of direction and need to know where to spend their time and to dig in. And so I just created the system that they can follow. Let's answer the strategic questions first. Let's answer the customer questions next. And then let's, in fact, I think in module 3, we focus on, let's make a case study. Let's talk about client success that looks like the success you want for your next 100 clients, and niche down and focus on the people you can sell to now. And let's only create content that is in the service of improving the likelihood of those sales happening.
I love it. I think that's genius. So you're actually getting them to create a case study in advance. Kind of what would you envision your clients experience and what would they achieve? Is that what you're doing?
In some cases, yes. For the folks that don't already have some amount of client success to talk about, but because most of them are post-revenue, it's really in the second module we go into great detail about identifying the ideal client profile and the persona of the person that is most likely to have their life changed by your product, the transformation that we like to focus on, and then we try to identify an existing customer that you may have already done business with that is indicative of the kind that you want to continue to land. Either it's the fact that they achieved success quickly, they were easy to help, they had the right questions, but sometimes even because they are in the market niche that you can focus on, you can serve and to help in the more immediate term. And a lot of this comes back to resourcing, right? It's like there's a tough conversation I have to have a lot of the time with the early stage folks, even who are post revenue, even when they're signing deals. They come to me and I help them realize, you have a certain amount of runway, and you have, realistically speaking, you can't serve everybody. You can't be, you're not necessarily walking up a staircase towards, achieving your unicorn ambitions. You might have to scale down your ambition and focus on just a specific market niche because, frankly speaking, you can't afford the kind of messaging and marketing and reach that is necessary to address the entire market that you talked about in your fundraising deck. This quarter, let's slice off a sliver and let's say some stuff that's going to resonate with the folks who are most ready to buy. Or I like to picture a Venn diagram of here's who we know we can help. Here's who we know is ready to buy, and we're only going to spend our resources and our sales efforts and our marketing budget and all of our focus just goes into that sliver of folks that's in the middle of that Venn diagram until such time as you land your Series A or you've captured all the market share in that niche, or whatever major event happens that opens up new possibilities for you. But the lean idea here, and I use that term because especially technical founders, they recognize it, right? They're probably following either a lean or agile methodology or some version of both, and so these sorts of things resonate with them. Where I can say, let's eliminate the fluff. Let's just cut to the heart of the matter here. Let's be realistic about what we can accomplish this quarter and next. And focus just on those things. Let's build you a content offer that resonates with a specific audience who's ready to buy, and let's tell that story and show client success in that specific niche, and really just hammer that message home until you have lined up 100 sales that look just like your best customer, and that's where the traction comes from, not from from throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what'll stick, so to speak. I don't usually say spaghetti, but I don't know if this is a family audience or what. So
hey, I love spaghetti. You're going to get me hungry here. That's dangerous. No, but I love it. You've got to niche down. And I have this all the time. Clients come to me and I ask them, what's your target? Oh, everybody. Right. Like what is that? Like fatal. You've got to find a niche, especially as a startup. Yeah, you're going to fail. And I had one who's a CRM. And he said, "Oh, we go after everybody." I'm like, "Guess what? You're competing against Salesforce and HubSpot and every other CRM. You need to find that niche, that part of the world, that sliver that needs you and wants you to speak directly to them." And it's important in your marketing, just like you said, Jordan. I love it. You've got to speak to them. And when you start niching, you can learn the lingo in that particular piece of the market, and you understand what's important for them. You understand what makes them tick. Not only can your marketing improve, but your development, you can develop right to them. I work on sales with people. We talk about how you can sell directly to those people in that market. Finding that niche, defining your ICP, and really nailing that is super critical. I totally agree.
Yeah, I often have conversations with clients where they have big concerns about differentiation. How can we differentiate ourselves? But they always think about that in product terms. What could be different about our product that we can sell against Salesforce? And I always say, differentiating is not just strictly through the product lens. You can differentiate your solution. You could say, we are just strictly better at customer relationship management for the dental industry, or for construction companies, or whatever niche it is where you have domain knowledge and you can speak to the specific pain points that they're experiencing. Even if you've made no changes whatsoever to your product, the framing and the messaging that you use or the positioning that you go to market with can be the differentiator.
Totally agree. And also it means if you're, putting yourself out there to build authority, you can build authority within that small niche quicker. There's just so many advantages.
Targeting
to
of
it, right?
ads gets a little less expensive when you can key in on, and messaging becomes easier. Everything sort of falls into place once you decide on what is that niche, who can we serve better and be different to them. A lot of those other decisions fall into place, and that comes back to the program where we help them understand that yes, it's counterintuitive to niche down and to focus on just a sliver of the addressable market that you told your all your investors about, but in terms of actually gaining traction and making some sales this quarter, it's necessary.
Totally agree. So that's definitely one. But what other missteps and mistakes do you see SaaS companies making that really hampers their marketing efforts and their growth?
Well, I think that's a major one is just being too general, but it's also kind of trying to go too big too fast. And I don't just mean that in terms of the message that you're going to market with, but also attempting a bunch of different tactics. You have to recognize that there are such things as short-term tactics and long-term tactics. And I see especially early stage companies trying to emulate the Salesforces and the HubSpots of the world with these long-term tactics. And that's all well and good. You have to, SEO is important. Social media and branding and relationship building and all of those things are very important, but they are not necessarily going to deliver those immediate results that you need in order to establish a customer acquisition cost, for example. You're going to have to probably look at paid acquisition. And if you're looking at paid acquisition, you absolutely have to have clear messaging, clear audience, and things like that. So what we focus on is a content offer that resonates with a very specific niche. And, we even down to as far as putting a job title right in the title of an ebook that says, this is the solution to a problem for, I'm going to go back to the dental example, dental office managers, how to
book to that role, going right to the role.
In some cases, yes.
I love it.
It's a bit extreme, but then it's like, you have a certain amount of money that you can spend on a campaign this month, and I'm telling you, this will resonate better. And I don't always successfully convince them to go that focused. But the ones that do almost invariably achieve better success because looking at it from the perspective of the person who sees this content, the person who you're promising a transformation for, and a great ebook does both. It identifies who and the transformation. Drive more leads for technical SaaS founders, something to that effect, where it's like, this is obviously prepared for me. I cannot ignore it. I must find out more. Whether I'm ready to buy right now or not, my curiosity level is peaked. Whereas absent of that, a job title or industry or whatever it is that you're using to focus down, it's not going to resonate as well. Conversion rates will be lower. The meaning isn't there. But when you do, let's say you do focus on a job title. And I always think about this in terms of, you're probably going to be doing some outbound or some paid acquisition of some kind. And what if all of your content was for a specific job title? What if all of your outbound calls were to a specific job title? What if everything was completely aligned? And taking it to the extreme of like account-based marketing. What if it was just for 100 specific accounts and 100 people sitting in a certain seat within those accounts? Like that's the kind of thing that an early stage software company needs to be thinking about in terms of where are your next 10, 12, 50 deals coming from. But they often think, it's like, well, Neil Patel said we need 2,000 word SEO blog posts. And so we're going to go out and hire a content agency to do 2 of those for us a month. And now you're burning, 10 grand a month on long-term SEO that if you're lucky, will start to pay dividends in 18 months time. And in the meantime, you burned your runway. And I'm saying that's all well and good. And you will need that. We'll get there. I want to be the guy to sell you those articles. Don't get me wrong. But first, have you considered what it looks like to actually convert people? Have you thought about what it is that you need to say to a specific, what I often call the champion, the person who's sitting there waiting for their lives to be changed by a product or solution that will actually improve their work. Somebody that they'll go to their boss and say, we need this thing because it promises to make my life better. And that is just wonderful news to me. And I read this ebook, and I also have this case study in this product document that I think you guys should see. And incidentally, that's why we often make these things as PDFs, because the sales process within a business-to-business environment almost always involves either a board or a department, or at least a executive signing officer of some kind.
Yeah,
And
especially
so we acknowledge what the sales process looks like, and we build content that helps to shorten those sales cycles and takes into consideration the fact that your champion is not necessarily your check signer. And you have to make sure that the story that you're telling and the information that you're sharing is going to resonate with all of the people involved in that decision-making process that before a check gets signed.
I totally agree. And especially up market, you're going to have that. So having those PDFs is critical, making sure the champion is armed to be able to deliver your message. I want to ask, I love the way you're putting this, Jordan, of you've got this piece. How do you get software founders to buy into the strategy of everything kind of coming together? Because sometimes people say, oh, well, let's go do this and try this, and then let's stop that, and let's go do that, and we're going to stop that. We're going to try this and do this, and everything kind of looks disjointed, and this might be working, and I don't know what's happening here. How do you get them to realize, hey, it's got to be kind of cohesive and all kind of work together?
Well, I think they work that out for themselves. I'm pleased to say that I think a lot of them are they're first of all very smart individuals. Almost every single one of my clients is quite a bit brighter than I am. I just happen to have a different set of core skills than what they have, particularly the technical creators. And so it's just simply showing them a system that has purpose and intent, and saying, rather than you spending hours of your week reading these long articles about, these, Series B funded companies and the tactics that they used, let's focus on what we can do now. Let's have a system. Let's do this first, and it's 9 steps, and it typically takes about 9 weeks. And then you have a complete live content funnel that becomes the focus of your marketing. So now when you are getting out onto social media, or you are preparing, if it's blog content or webinars, it's all in the service of driving traffic to that conversion event that gets them on your list. And then we also prepare the nurture emails that come after that do things like convince people why they should book a demo. Something that I have great deal of success with SaaS companies is I ask them how many people are clicking that book a demo button on your homepage. And there's always a nice long, healthy pause when they think about it. Yeah. And they're like, it's okay, not many. And it's like, okay, well, what if you offered them a piece of content that can convert them to your list where you can actually start that conversation? What if there was something that was a little bit of a lower barrier of entry for them that they could opt into? Yeah. So a content offer, an ebook that promises something for their specific industry or job title is just much easier to convert to. Now your homepage conversion goes from, 0.25% to as high as 3%, simply by asking if you're interested in learning more about our solution, not our product, but our solution. Which is again a differentiator, and sort of an extension of the no one's booking your demo conversation. The other half of that's maybe even a little bit more harsh is that 9 times out of 10, and I'm sure you see this too, the focus of their messaging is always on product and not on the better life that you're promising, the transformation that you're promising to those clients, right? And so I find it when I'm evaluating somebody's website and the ways that they're converting clients presently, it's often really easy because I can say, well, you've done a good job of explaining what it is that you've built, which is great because some people struggle even with that. However, You haven't talked about who it's for or what you intend to do to help them. And so we have to shift that narrative. We have to tell the story about what's going to make things better for them, how you intend to help, and what success looks like for them, rather than what your product looks like on the inside. There's a product page for that. There's a technical details, maybe even API documentation, all of that stuff that the technical folks need to see when the time comes to talk about integrations and all of that. There's definitely you need that stuff. But first, what's in it for me?
Absolutely. I have a group of software founders that we have a founders community, and we were just talking about this yesterday. You're not selling your product, you're selling the results. Where are they going to get by using your product? Your product's just a medium to get them there. So sell the results and you're going to find the best success there. So I completely echo that, Jordan. This has been awesome. I have loved getting to hear how you're approaching this, how you're helping people. This has been a really, really fun, engaging episode. I want to know, how can our audience contact you or learn more about what you're doing, Jordan?
I think probably the easiest is connect with me on LinkedIn. All of my appropriate links are there. That's where good conversations happen. This is something that I teach my clients as well, is that although we talk about email nurture and conversion and all of these things, it's all really in the service of starting conversations. We want somebody to reply to one of those emails and actually talk to you. So let's go right to the source. Add me on LinkedIn if you find me there. I'm Jordan Behan on LinkedIn. You can see the spelling on the screen there. And let's connect and have a chat.
I love it. And we'll put it in the notes as well, just so anybody who's listening on the podcast, you can get it right there in the podcast notes. Or if you're on YouTube, you'll see it down below as well. But Jordan Behan, CEO of Narrate Creative, so awesome to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. For everybody else out there, thank you for tuning in. Really glad to have you here. If you want more, make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you hit that button, because we're going to bring more and more awesome creators and innovators like Jordan to you every single week. So hit that and then give us a rating. Let us know how we're doing and if it's stuff that's helping you. But thank you very much for coming this time. We'll see you next time. Take care.